Hello, this is Greg Allison from Green Greg's Garden and Worm Farm, coming to you today to show you how to squeeze peat moss in a whole new way. One of my biggest challenges is squeezing peat moss. Greg, what do you use peat moss for? Well, peat moss I use to ship my worms in. If you're in the business of shipping worms, you really want to know how to get it squeezed right, especially for shipping. But a lot of people use peat moss or coconut coir in their bedding too. And so it's important that you have it moist enough, but not too moist. And to get that fiber moist enough, it needs to soak. It's really best if it soaks overnight so that moisture gets up into all the fiber, so you don't have big dry sections. And it takes a little time to do that. That said, once you've got it soaked, it's too wet. So how do you dry it out? Well, I've had other methods I've tried to use to dry it, and a lot of them are just really problematic. I have come up with a lard press with a plate broke. I got it welded. Broke again. It's cast iron, so it's an old press. That wasn't too good. I used a method of having a bucket inside a bucket with holes, and the buckets, just too much tension on pressure on those buckets, they tend to break and wear out. I know guys at some worm farms who set a grate down, and they walk and they put some screen wire down over that grate and some other stuff, and then they put some on top of the peat moss. They put it down wet and they walk on it. But I've seen the results. The stuff is too wet. And often when they ship worms, they die. They don't work good. And I've seen other guys who take like a spray nozzle and try to spray it into the dry stuff. Well, that might work if you have well water, but if you don't, that certainly isn't going to work, because then you got chlorine in with your worms, and that's going to kill a lot of them. And then you've got probably all of them. And then you've got the problem of still not having the fiber properly moist. The guys that ship like that, from what I've seen, and I have seen the results of that, ship them too dry. So how do you get it just right? Well, the old tried and true method that Mr. Shields taught from the 50s in all of his older books, some of the older books on worms, was to hand squeeze it, and squeeze it hard and just get the last drop out of it. And I can do that, and I have done that, and that's been my method I've used here for years. Well, I'm selling so much worms, that's just getting tough, because I did have another guy who was really good at it, and he's had some health issues and is no longer with me. I have gone through probably 60 people. It's not easy to do. I've gone through probably 60 people, and out of them, 3 of us can squeeze a peat moss right. Him being one of them, he's no longer able to work. And all these big muscled up guys who try, no, there's a little girl that can do it. Yes, there's a little girl who's my other only person that can help me do this, and she's not exactly fond of squeezing this stuff. Yes, a little girl and me. So, you got to have some power in that hand to squeeze good. And I've got, like I said, a lot of muscle guys. Some of them big guys, all kind of biceps and stuff, but they can't squeeze that peat moss. Well, hey, a girl. Yes, a girl, a little girl. So, well, she's a young female, young adult female, but really young and small. She's not a big, she's very petite and feminine, okay? Believe it or not, yes. So, all that said, the dilemma I have is how to get my peat moss squeezed, because this has nailed me down where I can't get anything else done. I'm spending my whole weekend just squeezing peat moss right now. I have to pay taxes. I have to figure out bills. I got to do admin. You guys have email for me to answer. I've got to put in tracking numbers. I've got a zillion admin tasks and other things I need to do. I have to get supplies. I need to be supervising things if I got help out here. There's a billion things I need to do, but I'm nailed down to squeezing peat moss all day, Saturday and Sunday, to try to get your orders out. So I've come up with the innovation to take care of that, and it seems to be working. Now, this is just experimental first run. I'm going to improve it, but I'm going to tell you about it. Here's the way that you can squeeze peat moss and do it effectively. But before I go into it, I'm going to mention I'm going to do a lot more videos on worm farming. I've got a lot of them on my channel now. If you want to see everything that's not in my playlist, just click the videos above. But please subscribe to my channel and click the update notification bells, because you're going to see me talk more about worms. I'll talk more about gardening. I'll talk about raising things indoors, outdoors. I'll tell you how to eat from the trees and the weeds. I've already got a good number of videos on that. Look at that swamp down there. I'm going to teach you, I got a good video on how to purify and sanitize water. That's 2 different things. If you don't know that, in a grid down situation, in trouble. One of the things I do also is I try to keep my subscribers aware of what's coming up in the world, so they keep their eyes wide open and head on a swivel. You need to know what the threats are that could come to you, what could happen. That is the way you best prepare. Be aware and prepare. Don't be scared, be prepared. That's what we're doing. And I cover a lot of these things, what's going on in the world. And I go beyond that. I talk about preventative measures. And I started it with calls for action to do things to get our power grid defended. I do videos telling you what the threats are to the power grid, how bad it can get if it fails, all the many causes that could bring that about. And I've taken on another initiative lately, another preventative measure. You know, it's like Louis Pasteur taught us when he came up with the earlier vaccines and such. An ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. I'm not a fan of vaccines, by the way, but an ounce of prevention beats a pound of cure, or a gallon of cure. And the fact of the matter is, some of these things we can take action to mitigate, to knock down, to make them not as likely to happen, to give us a better outcome in the future that we face. And I really hope we can have a bright, prosperous future. And if not, at least one that we've got a better chance of getting our friends and families, and neighbors and communities through, so we come out better on the other side of when it hits the fan. All that said, these are reasons to subscribe to my channel, to watch all these videos, click the update notification bell, and because you need to be prepared. Right now, food prices are skyrocketing. The situation in the world is very unstable. So I would suggest you buy long-term food storage. Check out my Patriot Supply link below. You need to be able to grow seeds that garden from seeds. You need heirloom seeds. I'll tell you videos about how to grow from microgreens from indoors. You can get microgreens supplies and heirloom seeds from True Leaf Market below. And hey, I'm talking about worm farming today, right? Guess what? I sell worms. Check out www.greengregs.com below for the worm videos. Excuse me, for my worms. Yeah, I got worm videos below too. Check out www.greengregs.com to buy worms. I ship worms year-round within the United States of America. I do not ship worms into other countries. Unless you want to buy several thousand pounds of worms, I could set it up. But I had somebody wanting to do that recently, and the state agriculture people just didn't give me the information I needed in time. You know, I guess I just wasn't somebody that struck their interest, even though I had a legitimate sale lined up. Anyway, with all that said, I do ship in the United States to all states except Hawaii. I also ship to Puerto Rico. Yes, I ship worms to Alaska, Puerto Rico, but not Hawaii. So please click those links. Now let's get to this innovation. And here it is. I'm using a press. Now that don't sound too unusual to use a press. I'm in the shop presses are in shops all over the country. I mean, you know, any mechanic shop and most backyard garage shops, a lot of you guys have these already. You can buy them. I got this one for Harbor Freight. Cost me probably about 150 bucks, taxes included. This is a 20-ton hydraulic press. And I keep the oil up here because these hydraulic presses require hydraulic oil. This had enough in it to get it started. All that said, this is the specific device that we've added to it to make this work. Now this is just an experimental first run, let's try it out device, and this is a frame. It's about a foot wide in here. It's got a plywood bottom on it with holes drilled in it, lots of holes, small holes, and a screen over them, because you don't want the peat moss to all run through the holes. That's why the holes are small and cover the screen. And it's got a form around it. And the back side of the form's got a little gap to help expedite the water flow coming out. Now it does seem most of it's coming out of the bottom. And we got a pusher plate. Now this is all just first run test articles made out of cheap plywood before we try the next one. You see it's already breaking. In fact, my pusher plate's already about broken half. And so that makes the plywood squeezes not as good. I will probably take a solid 1x plank to use for the next bottom and pusher plate on it, and maybe better plywood for the sides. But this is just a test article. Now to give you an idea for how this stuff actually works, I'm going to spoon all this stuff in here, and we'll see how this goes. I've got a little shovel here. I'm going to try to get it in fast. Then I'll adjust it all with a trowel, because this is a lot like making a brick. Just using this to get it in fast. And this is a whole lot faster than squeezing 2 fistfuls at a time, which is exactly what I was doing. Again, this is about kind of like making a little brick. I think to get the adjustment right, I'm going to have to switch it. What I've got here is my peat moss in this tote that's been soaking for over 24 hours. Now see, I can add to, you can do it entirely with a trowel. Just take your big clump up, put it in. Big clump up, put it in. Big clump up, Added several fistfuls right there. You can smooth, and you want to smooth it all out, get it all even. See, the water's already draining through some, but that's not nearly enough. Add a little bit more. I could put more in there. I could fill it up probably by another ½ inch, but for the purposes of expediting this video, I'm not going to spend 80% of my time doing the last 20% of the fill. We're going to get this moving, get the video done here. I'll try all back up here in my handy shelf that's self-built into this thing. Now I've been squeezing. This is just a cheap old rotten piece of plywood. We cut just to test this out, and we were just about cracked it in the center and it's bowing. Because it's bowing, it don't close the gap good enough. So I'm flipping it over dirty side up. I hope I don't break it in half this time, which is a possibility, and if it happens, it's no big loss. I'm just trying to show you how this works. That's just a cheap piece of plywood. I'm going to put some 2x4s in here. Kind of minimize the time it takes to get this. Now this one's going all the way across, so it distributes the load this way, but not that way. That's one reason it's bowing, cracking. But also, it's also just cheap plywood, so I'm getting better plywood. It'll work better. Now you can turn this thing to close the valve, and initially there's no pressure, so you can hand crank it down. This is easy peasy. Just hand crank her down, get her into contact, and you can make sure it's tight enough for this tool here. I think I got her in there nice and tight. There we go. Tighten that valve just a little bit more. Again, nice little handle, got a moment on here. Just crank it on down. You don't want to get in a great big hurry with it, because if you push it too fast, all that water is going to not come out as efficiently. So just let it sit there for a minute and drain out, because you only got so many holes in there. Slows down, you can crank her down some more. I'll tell you what, I got a whole lot, and there's a whole lot more than I would have in here 2 fistfuls at a time. 2 fistfuls at a time is a mighty slow way to squeeze peat moss. This is one ginormous brick we're making here. It's a good section of a 5-gallon bucket. What had taken me an hour to squeeze in a 5-gallon bucket, and most of my other people that could do it, maybe 2 hours, we can do it in about 15 minutes with this thing. So you can get this done a lot faster. So watch me pump this. Watch this going down here. You can see she's draining right here. So this wood's bowing a little bit, but I flipped it over. The bow is not as bad. She's probably about as far down as she's going to go. Now she's still going down. We're still getting water out. What you can always do is pick it, turn it loose and check it out. We won't let it, it's still draining some. Slowing down, we'll give it a couple more pushes. I don't think it's going to go much further. No, I think I'm there as far as she's going. So what we're going to do, I see it won't move now. She's reached the maximum extension. Let it drain. So you can let it drip for a while. That would be the best thing to do, is just let it drip out a while if you got time. But time is of the essence. It's the most precious thing you got, right? So we're going to open this thing up. See these springs? Just pull this sucker right back up. Just a little hydraulic press, just like that. Voila! Isn't that beautiful, guys? Isn't that just beautiful? Just up here. Move my little 2x4s. Got our pusher plate, which I think I've squeezed back straight now. It was bowed the other way. Add it over here. Look, this brick. Now if I grab it in the center where the most pressure was and give it a squeeze, there's no water coming out. My friends, perfect. And I got to tell you, now on the sides there will be some, but when I mix it up in the bucket, it probably won't be so bad. And it says too much right there. It's way too much water there. But then again, that's because this plate's bowed. If I get it all straight, so if I take like a solid one piece in the bottom and a solid piece on the top where I don't have the bowing, you won't see that. But that center is so dry, we'll probably just mix this stuff up together and it'll be almost good enough. Here in the back is also wet, but the center is perfect. Hey, even if I just had to do the centers and then run the other stuff through, if I had to do it twice, this is way better than doing 2 handfuls at a time. So I could just rerun this, it'll be just fine. And to get it out, you could take this whole plate out and dump it in a big tote, or I like to put it in little buckets because they're easy to carry around. So you can just try all this stuff out. See how it comes out? It's real nice and easy to bring out. Most of that is dry, especially the stuff in the center. In the center is maybe a little drier than I would normally squeeze it. So it could be, if I mix it up, it'll average you out. But I think I will just run it through again. I'll make another plate. But this is such a good innovation. This is working out so well. It's got so much potential. I thought I would show it to you while it's still in the experimental phase like it is right now. As you can see, I can just sit here and try all this out real easy. And every trial load is that's several fistfuls right there. Several fistfuls. And it goes a whole lot faster. And anybody can do this. It doesn't require a little girl or me or my previous hand. All the other 60 people that couldn't handle it could do this. Anybody could do this once you build your proper form. There's no magic to this, and I got my bucket full. So rather than go through and spend the last, umpty minutes cleaning this out, finish this video up here. Well, my hands got a little dirty just from handling that, but basically you don't get your hands as dirty doing this. And you can wear gloves if you're so inclined. I'm not one of those people. Gloves are against my religion. What's your legend, Greg? Yeah, you wouldn't even want to know. Like I say, I do believe in the greater creator, but I don't want to get into that. That's not the purpose of this video. I'm trying to be universal here to help everybody, whatever your background is. Because this is the tip that anybody can use who's growing worms. You can use something like this to squeeze for your beds. You can use something like this to squeeze to ship worms if you're shipping worms. And Greg, I'm not out here to compete with you. Hey, that's fine. Go ahead, because you'll probably buy worms from me. Worm farmers are my best customers. So there we are, my friends. This is the press. Just a 20-ton press, in which you can use for other purposes, for your shop needs, squeezing bearings or whatever you want to do. It's nice to have a press in the shop, and to do this is just a huge labor-saving potential for me. I'm all excited by it. And like I said, many more videos to come on worm farming, power grid defense. I'm going to interview some people on that. That's my plans. I got to get some people lined up. We'll do more live sessions on various topics in the future. And my new project is 2 minutes for peace. I meant to mention that. What we're aiming for, and it's maybe past this video now by the time you see this, but it's one of my preventative things. I'm pushing for 2 minutes for people to just stop and be silent. 2 minutes of silence, prayer, meditation, whatever you're attuned with in that regards. So if you don't have faith, well, just 2 minutes in silent protest could make a huge difference. And when enough of us do it, it can get attention. So we're trying to make this go viral to get it out there for a lot of people. I'm getting a lot of good response on it. It's 2 minutes for peace. And so the objective for the first one is to be done on the 2nd of February 2020, 02/02/2020, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I hope that some of you will see this before we have that event. We'll do probably others afterwards, because like I said, an ounce of prevention beats a gallon of cure. We're trying to make a difference. So keep your eyes wide open, your head on a swivel. Don't be scared, be prepared, be aware, and prepare. And my friends, thank you for watching.